The following is a presentation of the Mat Talk Podcast Network.
You are now logged into WarUp on the WPIAL, featuring your hosts, Greg Warnock and Jeff Upson. PA Power Wrestling. Pennsylvania is wrestling.
Welcome into a brand new edition of WarUp on the WPIAL. Greg Warnock and Jeff Upson with you here, and we are through the District 7 WPIAL Championships. The champions are the same. Burl and Kiski. We're going to break down both AA and AAA, but really we talked about it in the preview show. Not really much of a surprise that either team repeated. No,
I mean, I think both of us said that going into this year, actually, not just the postseason, that both Kiski and Burl were going to be favored. They each had their ups and downs this season, but at the end of the day, they both came away with championships. Burl's 13th. Right, lucky number 13, and
13
for Kiski,
in a row.
Yeah, and then for Kiski it was the third in a row. So, two very storied programs there.
Yeah, dominant. And they were dominant in their runs to the finals and winning the titles. Let's first talk about AAA. The pigtail round, just the results. South Fayette over Indiana, 44-27. Chartiers Valley over Hampton, 60-17. And boy, Hampton, they came with about half a team in that matchup. Franklin Regional over Peters Township, 54-30. And Trinity over West Mifflin, 60-12. And I think the Franklin Regional Peters Township matchup, every match was by a 6-point swing. So, not a lot of real big competitive matches on Monday night. On Wednesday, Kiski defeated South Fayette 65-6 in the opening round. Connellsville over North Allegheny 44-22. Thomas Jefferson over Greensburg Salem 45-19. Cannon McMillan over Franklin Regional 54-16. Hempfield over Chartiers Valley 53-12. Waynesburg over Mount Lebanon 38-30. Norwin over Butler 51-21. And Seneca Valley over Trinity 54-24. Really, in these matches, it goes all chalk.
Yeah, for the most part, it did, and there weren't too many surprises here. One individual match that I looked into was Jackson Gray of Mount Lebanon defeating Trey Howard 5-3, so that was a good win for Jackson.
Yeah, you look at the, I know the one matchup we're kind of looking at Connellsville and North Allegheny just coming up short. I was talking to, actually got a chance to broadcast with Dom Fories, and he's actually coaching with Sonny Abe up there at North Allegheny, and he mentioned that next year they should be pretty solid.
That's what everyone says. I keep on hearing that from everybody. So.
Yeah, he said that they have about 8 ninth graders that were left down, and they have about eight kids in the 8th grade that are going to be coming up too.
Yeah.
So he said some of those kids, it was interesting. He said that this year was one of those years where North Allegheny, they gave the junior high had the option over the varsity as far as who went up and who went down, and it was interesting because I thought varsity had the choice of who I want to keep up, but apparently it was the other way around this year for North Allegheny, so some of those kids should have been up and would have filled some holes. But he did mention that Marcinelli, one of those strong kids we've been talking about, he's actually out for the season. He had I think he had a back injury is what Dom said. So, but next year should be the year for North Allegheny, so it'll be interesting to see how they all plug in. Going to be a young team, and he mentioned not only be strong next year, but for years to come for North Allegheny. The quarterfinals, that's where we saw some results that we may not have expected. Kiski beats Connellsville 49-16. Cannon McMillan over Thomas Jefferson 27-25. Waynesburg over Hempfield 39-33. And Seneca Valley over Norwin 46-22.
And before we talk about the Waynesburg and Hempfield match, let's talk about that Cannon Mack and Thomas Jefferson match, 27-25. And the big one here was at 195 where Garrett Ninehouse bumps up to 195 and wrestles Thomas Jefferson's Max Shaw, who was a Powerade champion, third in the state last year. And that goes to ride out, which Shaw won 3-2. That's a big-time matchup between two high-quality wrestlers. Both were in the Powerade finals this year. Ninehouse was a runner-up. And I think he's coming down a little bit in his weight descent. I think you're going to see him most likely at 170. And, so he probably was giving up a good amount of weight against Max Shaw, but still a really good win for Shaw.
The match was it was a lot of action, which sometimes you don't get to see when these two guys wrestle, but a lot of action, and it ended up Ninehouse was limping throughout the end of that match. He ended up dinging up at that knee that he's had that brace on. So he ends up It ends up going to the double overtime. Ninehouse could not get out from underneath Shaw in the second half, but Shaw would have had choice in the ultimate tiebreaker, so he likely would have won that anyway at that point because he got out so quick. One thing to note about this match, though, Cale Bacaizo at 120 does not wrestle for Thomas Jefferson. Crutelis does, and he gets pinned by Gardner. Not to say that Bacaizo beats Gardner, but he doesn't get pinned by Gardner. And to me, if he ends up giving a decision, Thomas Jefferson wins this match. That's how close this duel was between these two teams.
There was a lot of close matches here. You look at Brendan Finnery from TJ beating Tanner O'Haley 4-3 at 145. That's a huge win for Finnery. I thought, O'Haley's a guy who's kind of been up and down. He's been a little banged up this year. Kenny Heyman comes away with a 4-1 or 4-0 victory over Mikey Zakor from TJ. And then you look at 220 in heavyweight. Alec Hendel from Kanemak wins against Sobek 2-1 in rideout as well. So you have a decision there for Sobek, and that changes the complexity of the match. And then Guillermo Ramos from Kanemak loses to Serapiglia from TJ 3-0. So you're talking about some really tight matches that you're right. I mean, if TJ wins that match, Kanemak's not going to the state tournament.
Yeah.
So it was a lot closer than many expected, I think.
And Thomas Jefferson, after you see the Waynesburg gets into the semifinal, they may have been the fourth best team. That might have been for third and fourth that night. Because that match, like I said, could have went anywhere. And if Bacaizo wrestles, then TJ may end up being that team in the semifinals. You look at that Waynesburg and Hempfield matchup, and really it all comes down to 285 pounds, where Isaiah Vance does not wrestle. Hempfield gives up a forfeit. Vance wins that matchup. Even with a decision, Hempfield ends up winning 36-33. With a fall, Vance, which may have gotten, that'd be 39-33 Hempfield's way.
Right. So, I mean, that shows you how critical one guy could be. Isaiah Vance, a state qualifier, very highly ranked this season. And him not going, that really changed the whole dynamic here. But you look at Waynesburg, I mean, they gave up a forfeit at 106. They haven't had a 106-pounder all season, really. So it's kind of hard to believe, but then again, it isn't because Waynesburg is such a small school, so their enrollment size is not nearly that of a AAA school, but they wrestle there. So hats off to Waynesburg. I mean, they got the wins where they needed to. Colton Stone King got an 11-9 win over a guy he wrestled in the PJW state tournament. Luke Augustine had a big win over Trevor Verkleer in 7-3. And they got falls where they needed to. Darnell Johnson, Caleb Stevenson, and Colby Morris all picked up falls. So Waynesburg, despite having that, giving up those 6 points at the 106, they still were able to find a way to win.
And then you look at the Seneca Valley Norwin matchup. In a matchup, Ali Herrera-Rondon taking on Curtis Phipps. Herrera-Rondon wins with a 6-0 decision.
Yeah, I mean, that's a rematch of the state finals from last year. And, Ali was able to score a lot more points this time around than he did in the state finals, where he didn't score any points. And he comes out with a 6-0 decision, bumping up a weight too. So, there's a reason why he's ranked second in the nation. It's because he's done so well this year, runner-up at Ironman, champion at Powerade. So, but other than that, Seneca Valley pretty much took care of business here. Antonio Emilio at 145 had a nice win over Chase Kranitz from Norwin, who's a freshman. Drew Vlasnik from Seneca Valley beat John Altieri 11-5. So those are two good wins for them, for Seneca Valley. So, overall, we were excited to see this matchup. I didn't think we were going to see the Ali and Curtis match. I just didn't think it was going to happen, but it was a nice little treat for the fans.
Well, the big thing for Seneca Valley is they like to get Hunter Swedish in the lineup, and the only way to do that is they bump Chappell up to 13 and Herrera-Rondon up to 20. So, definitely awesome whenever you see a matchup like that, a state finals matchup, or two guys ranked number 2 in the state each way with Ninehouse and Shaw. That's just great to see for the fans' perspective. Semifinals, Kiski Area defeated Cannon McMillan 45-26. First matchup, Garrett Ninehouse, Braden Rokoski. Rokoski able to keep it a little bit closer this time, only gave up a decision, 12-7. And then Troy Kuhn comes out, picks up the fall against Alec Hendel, and that just set the stage for the Cavaliers.
Yeah, and Rokoski, he took Ninehouse down, and Ninehouse is he's banged up, man. That knee is giving him some issues, I think. But he is able to get a decision. Troy Kuhn, he comes away with a huge pin for him, because Troy Kuhn, he's a guy that he'll either get pinned or he gets a pin. So, and I think Canamac kind of wanted that one. I think they really were looking at 220 as a weight that they needed to win. Giomar Ramos, he switches the script on Stone Joseph. Stone Joseph beat him the first time around at the quad meet, but Ramos is able to win that. So I think they were feeling pretty good about that. And then Jacob Haupt gets a major. So I think you look at that and say, okay, we're in good, we're in good territory here. But then all of a sudden, the things start to fall apart. Jacob Gardner has an injury default. He looked like he was in a lot of pain. And then Kenny Heyman and Darren Miller actually each get forfeits at 126 and 132 respectively. So the big match for me was Sammy Starr coming away with a fall at 138. And then Cam Connor, Enzo Meraki, Jack Bloomer, Nick Delp. I mean, that's murderer's row right there. So not a bad way to end it.
The other semifinal, Seneca Valley defeats Waynesburg 39-36.
Yeah, and it wasn't nearly as close as the score would indicate, because Seneca Valley forfeited the last 4 weights to prepare for the finals. So they forfeited 52 through 182. But the big matchup here was at 120, where Ali Herrera Rondon defeats Cole Hammett 3-2. But Hammett he was right in there with him. I thought for sure he was going to score a takedown in that third period, but Ali was able to fend him off, but Cole really showed a lot of guts, and I think he's going to be a guy to keep an eye out for here in the postseason.
Third place match to the right to go to the state tournament. Cannon McMillan and Waynesburg, a rematch of the Section 4 finals, and Cannon McMillan defeats Waynesburg once again, this time 41-24.
Yeah, and again, these are two teams that are very familiar with each other, and Cannon Mac just got it done. Cannon Mac came up in some big matches. They were able to get wins where they needed to. They got some falls where they needed to. Tanner Rohaley gets a fall at 170 for them. Evan Miller has a nice win over Noah Tustin, 15-6. And Alec Hendel, again, another guy who's been kind of up and down this year after losing to Troy Kuhn, getting pinned by him. He gets a 1-0 decision over Ryan Howard. So, Cannon Mac got it done against a tough Waynesburg team.
Kiski Area take on Seneca Valley for the title, and Kiski all over on this one, 49-17. Match started 220 pounds. They get 2 falls, and that just set the stage for what was going into the strong lineup for Seneca Valley, but Kiski just maintained throughout.
Yeah, I mean, this really shows how much difference there is between the Kiski Area we saw in December at the quad meet and Seneca Valley, where they only won by a small margin, and now they come away with a 49-17 victory. And they had everything go in their favor. Hunter Swedish was able to win in overtime. Dylan Chappell gets a major. Ali gets a fall. And then, it sort of just keeps on. Then after that, that was it. They didn't really have much after that. Kiski Area was able to win basically the rest of the way, other than 138, where Drew Vlasic wins. Cam Connor got another fall over Nick Montalbano, who we talked about that before. That's a big pin for Cam. Jack Bloomer's able to get a fall. They were able to mix some guys in. Dylan Mullen from Kiski gets some action at 170. He gets a major decision. And then Nick Delp and Brandon Roskowski each get wins for them. So, this is... Kiski's on fire, man. They're looking really, really good going into the postseason. It's a good time to do that.
Yeah, they are hitting on all cylinders, and they'll be heading into the state championships, where they will be on the bottom half of the bracket. They will be taking on the winner of Owen J. Roberts and Cumberland Valley. And then they'll have likely Cathedral Prep in the quarterfinals. Yeah, I mean, I've already filled out the bracket, and I've already had my predictions. I haven't posted them yet because I don't want to get hurt yet. I don't want to get torn up on social media just yet. But Kiski and I talked to Coach Heater about this. I mean, Kiski's in a good position down that bottom half. I think they match up really well with Cathedral Prep. And then outside of that, on the bottom half, you have Northampton, who I really like out of District 11, Cedar Cliff, and Cannon Mac. So that Cannon Mac's going to wrestle Carrick. Cannon Mac's going to win that match, barring like a nuclear disaster of some sort. But Cedar Cliff and Cannon Mac, I think, is going to be a really good match. I think it's going to be a barn burner. The winner there, I think, is going to see Northampton. And then it could be a Kiski-Northampton semifinal match would be a lot of fun. But I like Kiski's chances here to get to the finals. I really do. How do you think they match up better with Cathedral Prep than you expected them to?
Going into the season, yeah, I think Kiski matches up better with them than originally anticipated. I think they're going to be able to keep it close where Cathedral Prep has their big guns like Strachey and Crosby and DeBow. I think they're going to be able to keep it somewhat close through those weights. But where I think Cathedral Prep's weak, I think Kiski will be able to get some bonus points. So, and I said this in my recap, but having Darren Miller drop down to 26 gives Heaters so much more flexibility with where they can stick guys in. They have two guys that are basically they couldn't find a spot in the lineup because of guys like Enzo and Sammy Starr, and they're going to be able to get plugged in. So it really plugs some things up, and I think Kiski's in a much better spot this time around.
You also mentioned Canamac on the bottom half there. How do they match up with Cedar Cliff? How do they match up with Northampton?
Cedar Cliff, I think they match up well with. I mean, and I said this before that both these teams are really balanced. Canamac, I think it depends on a few things. Is Jacob Gardner able to go because he looked pretty bad, banged up at the WPIAL tournament, and then Gary Ninehouse, how healthy is he going to be? Because if he's not going to get bonus points, that's a huge factor, right? Because this is going to be a match that bonus points are going to be critical at, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than folks may expect. Cedar Cliff's tough. They're really solid. They won a District 3 title with relative ease. J.J. Wilson, Donovan Ball, two guys that we saw in the Powerade finals. And, I think it's going to be a good matchup. I think it's going to be a lot closer than folks expected. Northampton, they're short one of their best wrestlers, Devin Britton, who at one time was ranked number 1 in state at 138, and they're still finding a way to win. Northampton, I would never count them out after what they did to the District 11 competition, beating Nazareth and Liberty, two teams that were ranked top 5 in the state coming into this week. So Northampton, I would not sleep on them whatsoever.
Is Devin Britton able to potentially go this weekend?
I doubt it. From what I'm told, I doubt he's going to be able to go. I think he'll be lucky if he even gets into individuals. So, I would say he's probably not going to wrestle, but even without him, I mean, Northampton, they're tough. I mean, they have a tradition of excellence there. I mean, all those guys battle. So, it's going to be fun. I'm really excited to see how that bottom half shakes out.
Does Ninehouse weighing in potentially at 170 change the lineup for the Big Macs at all?
A little bit, but a healthy Ninehouse would. But if he's unhealthy, and he's not able to go up to 182 and get bonus points against people that he probably should, then I'd say it's a non-factor. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not inside that room, that program to really figure out how they're going to play it out. But I would say, yes, having him down at 170 it allows you more flexibility, but a healthy Garrett Ninehouse is going to be much better at any weight, let alone unhealthy at 170. So, but we'll see.
Seneca Valley's in the top half of the bracket. They'll take on Mifflin County on Thursday, and then likely Bethlehem Catholic in the quarterfinals. How do they match up in those two?
The Mifflin County one, and Mifflin County really impressed me. I mean, this is a Mifflin County team that really did well this season. They beat Cumberland Valley this year pretty handedly. Cumberland Valley was the third team out of District 3, and they won a really tough District 6 tournament. They were able to beat both Central Mountain and Bellefonte, which were two teams that were pretty stacked. So I think there's some interesting matchups here because, again, Seneca Valley, they're so tough from 106 up to 152, 160. But then after that, again, if Mifflin County can expose and get some bonus points, I think they're going to be having some tough spots to be in, and bumping up Chapel and Alley may not pay dividends out because they have guys like Christian Fisher down there at 113, Derek Burke. They have Nick Allison at 106, and he's a stud. So it's going to be kind of a chess match, if you will, because I think they're going to try to get bonus points in the middle with Emilio and Vlasnik and Montalbano, but they have a hammer and Trey Kibe, Mifflin County does. So I think this one is going to be tight, and I think if they are able to survive Mifflin County, Bethlehem Catholic's a different animal, man. They're really tough. So
looking ahead, You're saying Kiski Area likely to be in the final, or you like their chances?
I like their chances.
Bethlehem Catholic likely in the final. We'll
Correct.
say that. How does Kiski match up with Bethlehem Catholic?
Well, we're looking really far ahead here. Coach Heater would be upset if we're supposed to take it one match at a time, Greg, not look at for a week in advance.
So we should only be looking at O&J Roberts Criminal Valley. You already looked ahead to Cathedral Prep and to
I'm getting text updates from Joe Youngblood, and O&J Roberts is up 12-0 on Cumber Valley. So I am looking ahead. But no, I think Kiski. I've done the matchups on paper a handful of times before the lineup shifts and now after. And Kiski, they match up well with Becca, but Becca's just they're so tough throughout. And I can't see the way that they've been wrestling. And here's the key is they were able to get Matt Mayer, who was a state medalist last year, down to 113 from 120, and then they can insert Nate Lackman into 120. So that means they have Dante Frenzy at 106, Matt Mayer at 113, Nate Lackman at 120, Dylan Murphy at 26, Kenny Herman at 132, and Matt Lackman at 38, Ryan Anderson at 45, and Cole Handlovic at 152. There's no one in the state that has a better lineup from 106 to 152 than Becca. So, I like Kiski's chances of battling there. I mean, but they're really only spots that they're going to probably get wins potentially is Darren Miller on Dylan Murphy, and Cam Connor on Cole Handlovic. So if you only get 2 wins out of them, and then you have a really big matchup with Luca Frenzy and Jack Bloomer. So it's going to be really tight, but I think Becca's they're tough, man. They're really tough. How
did they lose to begin with then?
What do you mean? How did
they lost to Liberty, right?
They did. That was pre Jeff Karam. He has like the Michael Jordan special drink. I don't know. They have a different lineup this time around. I mean, that's for sure. I mean, we saw how much of a difference one guy can make, and having both Nate Lackman and Matt Mayer in, and then playing around with some matchups up at 145, 152. It was a tight match, and you know what? They beat them the second time around, so they obviously made adjustments. And look, Liberty's we just wrote a column on this. Jeremy Elliott did, and I've been pretty vocal on social media about my feelings towards how it's a travesty that District 11 only gets 2 teams to the state tournament, and I've been getting support and bashing, so I'm okay. I'm used to that, but I mean it's just. If Liberty was in this tournament, they wouldn't win it, but they could probably finish top 4. So, they could. I think Northampton can finish top 3. So, District 11 is tough this year. Sometimes we see it reverse. I think Thomas Jefferson could do really well here as well. I think they, we saw how close they were with Cannon Mac. I think they would fare well here. So, but there's no perfect solution. There's no resolution where everyone's going to be happy. So
what do you propose?
Oh, don't give me it. We don't have a podcast.
Well, we have the article on PIAA Wrestling,
sure,
so make sure you go check it out. But in short, since this is a WPIAL podcast, do you think District 7 deserves at least one more spot?
And Jeremy Elliott and I both have discussed this at length, and I think so. What we propose is. And we don't agree on everything here, but what we do agree on is that you take away 4 qualifiers from, so you essentially District 3 and District 1 each get 4 teams in. I say you take those out. So what I propose is any school in a division with 45 plus schools in that district get 3 qualifiers, and then you have at-large bids to hand out to teams. Like, so if District 7 is really tough one year, you could potentially get an at-large bid, or District 11 or District 3, District 1. So that would be, because things are so, it's not always concrete year from year after year. So this year District 11 is really tough. In years past, they haven't had 4 teams that I think should make the state tournament, but this year they do. So I'd say you have a panel of some sort of committee, a steering committee, maybe coaches. Jeremy suggested having a coaches panel. I don't know. There's no look. We could debate this forever, but the bottom line is the way that the teams get in now is based on numbers, and that's it. They're based on the number of schools in your district. That's it. So, District 12 gets 2 teams in. They have 21 teams, and only a handful of them actually have full lineups of wrestling teams. So, I mean, there's just a lot of difference between District 12 and District 11.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'll argue that to the death. Like, there's just not, the quality of wrestling is just not where it is in District 11 as compared to District 12. It's kind of night and day. So, yeah, again, we could go on forever about this.
We won't do that. We can make sure you check out the article on PA Power Wrestling to make sure you read all up, and I'm sure plenty of comments through social media to make sure you check out and see what everybody is saying about it. Mentioned Kiski Area, a 3-time reigning WPIAL champions in AAA. We are joined by Cam Connor of Kiski as he's set to talk about their winning the championship. Cam, thanks for joining us on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, Cam, you guys win your 3rd straight WPIAL championship. How does it feel winning this 3rd one?
It's just as sweet as the first one. We all went out there, did our thing, and we ended up on top. There was 4 good teams there, and we all wrestled our best and came out on top.
Did having that experience of winning 2 straight really help you guys in this 3rd matchup?
I think for us older guys that we knew what to expect, we weren't really that nervous. We were comfortable in that position. But for the younger guys, they might have been a little bit more nervous. But I think once we started wrestling and the points started coming in, that the match just really took care of itself. Everyone just did their job.
Yeah, you guys really didn't have as much drama as you've had in years past, being able to further the gap between some of the teams, Seneca Valley and Cannon McMillan. You guys had a chance to wrestle them back in December. Did it help wrestling them in December to get familiar with them, to prepare yourself for these matches?
Yeah, I think so. We got some good competition out of the quad meet. We got to see where we were at. Our lineups changed a lot since then. We've got some guys dropping, some guys that got healthy. But for the most part, it just really prepared us for this time of the year where stuff actually starts to matter. And it did help us for sure.
And Cam, just talk about your development this year. And you have somewhat over 20 pins this year. You're able to get a critical fall against Seneca Valley, against Nick Montalbano for the 2nd time this year. What's been different about this year? Because you've just been firing on all cylinders. Your only loss this year is to a guy you're familiar with, Ryan Vulock. What's different this year as opposed to years past?
I just really worked a lot harder in the off season, went down to Quest a lot, and put in a lot of work with Coach Jim Akerley and a bunch of studs from around the area. And also, I just hit the weight room a lot this off season. It's helped a lot. I noticed that my strength's gotten a lot better this year. I'm getting to my attacks more often, and I'm able to get guys over a lot easier now that I've put some muscle on.
And last year you were a state medalist, but this year I think you're clearly one of the top guys in the state of Pennsylvania at 152 pounds. You have guys like Dan Mancini and Cole Handlovic also there as well. Is this something that you look forward to? I mean, at the beginning of the year, I'm sure you wrote down that you wanted to be a state champion. It's becoming closer and closer to that individual postseason. Are you starting to visualize yourself standing on top of that podium in Hershey?
Yeah, it's been a goal I had for years. I've always wanted to be on that in the finals. I've watched the state finals on PCN when I was a little kid, just dreaming one day that I would be able to get that chance. And I think this year's everything's just a lot different. I'm wrestling so much better, wrestling at a higher level. And I can visualize that state title around my neck if I just keep doing what I'm doing and keep wrestling to my offense and practicing tough.
One state title you're hoping to obtain this weekend is the team state championship, and you guys will head to Hershey and on Thursday wrestle the winner of Owen J. Roberts and Cumberland Valley. Talk a little bit about the preparations heading into this week, and do you feel like you guys are going to have any nerves at all heading into it, or because you've been here before, been to the state finals before, you may not have as many nerves and just know what you got to do?
Coach has us practicing a couple times this week. We got to practice in earlier today, and we'll practice tomorrow and get a little practice in Wednesday before we depart. And I mean, they're not going to be the toughest practices. We're just pretty much just I don't know what to say, just like advancing our technique a little bit, not really wrestling live. But for the most part, I think going into this year, we're not as nervous as we were the past years, especially after last year. We know what to expect getting to the state finals. The younger guys might be a little bit nervous, but the upperclassmen have a lot of experience. I've been to states all 4 years of my high school career, so I know what to expect. And a bunch of other dudes have been there for the most part all their years. So we can just really give the younger guys a lot of guidance.
And what kind of things would you say to those guys to make sure they're ready and they don't have the cold feet in those big matchups? Because obviously you may not have as much trouble in the first round, but then from there on out, you guys are going to have tough matchups in the following round. So what do you tell those guys to make sure that they are ready to go?
Just telling them, just don't worry about the crowd, don't worry about the arena, because being in that arena, I don't know, it feels a lot different, even though it's just the same wrestling match as just like we're wrestling back at home. But I would just tell them to do their part, just get the win for the team, and no matter what, just go out there and give it their best.
And Cam, just talk about yourself and what you're planning on doing in the future. You're committed to Penn, a really top academic school, but also a really tough wrestling school with some guys such as Roger Reyna, Brian Pearsall, and Pete Renda. What drew you to commit to Penn, and what are you looking forward to?
Obviously, it's a great academic school, great opportunity for my future. Also, they're recruiting some of the best guys in the country. They're bringing a lot of top guys in from Jersey and out east in PA, Central PA. So that, and also I just got the right feel for the school. It felt like home to me. So that was just the best choice for me. I felt most comfortable there.
And talking about comfortable, I think you and Darren Miller both are two guys that just seem really comfortable this season wrestling. You both had really solid PIAA tournaments, Westmoreland County tournaments. And do you see that difference in Darren Miller? Because last year, I know he was a little disappointed last year with his finish not making the state tournament. Do you see that difference? And if you do, what do you think the difference is?
He just seems to be on a mission this year. He's lasered focused. He came out the gate this year swinging. He beat Camacho, who's returning state finalist, in a great match. And he's just continued to stay on track. And he's wrestled a great PIAA tournament, only losing to a 2-time state champ. And he's just doing what he does best. He just goes out there, grinds out tough wins. And he's just really improved a lot this year. I think after last year, he just wanted to go out there and prove that he's one of the best in the state.
And you may have a chance to prove you belong, this week, especially if you guys see Bethlehem Catholic, because Cole Handelvik's a guy you're familiar with. You wrestled him in the state finals of the team tournament and also at the state tournament. I know we're looking far ahead, and Coach Heater won't be real happy about this when he hears this, but, is that a matchup you kind of would like to see happen? Because you kind of want to say, hey, I'm definitely better than I was last year, and I think you could come out with a win.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that a little bit. I'm looking forward to the competition. I want to wrestle the best out there, and he's a good competitor. I want to go out there and see if I've improved from last year. And I think a win against him would just verify that all my hard work's paid off. But also, I got to come back in a couple of weeks and do it all again. So it's going to show where I'm at in the state too. So,
well, I hope it happens for the fans' sake and for my sake. I hope it's a matchup we see happen like we did last year. So, if it does, best of luck. But regardless, I think you guys are going to have a great tournament. So, looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Well, Cam, thanks a lot for joining us on the show, and congratulations on winning a third straight WPIAL championship for Kiski Area as being part of the team there. And best of luck as you head into Hershey.
Thanks.
Thanks, Cam.
Thanks again to Cam Connor for joining us on the show and talking about Kiski and all their success. Burl, Even more success, 13 straight WPIAL championships. Let's talk about how that came about for the Burrell Buccaneers. They had a bye in the opening round. McGuffey defeats Keystone Oaks 43-30. Quaker Valley over Valley 57-16. Elizabeth Forward over Laurel, a little bit closer than you'd expect, 43-33. Derry over South Park 54-24. Best Center over Southmoreland 51-16. Freedom over Washington 59-18. Burgettstown over Hopewell 48-24. Not any surprises in the opening round. But round 2, quarterfinals, Burrell over McGuffey 58-16. Best Center defeats Derry 42-30. Quaker Valley over Elizabeth Forward 48-30. And the number 2 seed fell. Freedom over Burgettstown 42-36.
Yeah, and you look at that McGuffey and Burrell match, it wasn't very close, but there were some good matchups. Ian Oswalt was able to beat Jet Pattison 3-1, so good win for him. But, yeah, this was business as usual for Burrell and the way they were able to come out and just dominate.
You look at the number 2 matchup in Freedom knocking off Burgettstown. We talked about Freedom as a 7 seed being so dangerous because they got upset. And, where do you put them in the bracket? It really came down to the first match of the night. Jacob Pale knocking off Shane Kemper 5-2 in double overtime.
Yeah, that was a huge win for him, and that really set the momentum, as you said, at 145. And then, things just kind of kept on going that way. Trent Schulteis is able to get a fall for them at 160. Bryson Miller was in the lineup. He gets a fall for them at 195. And Riley Kemper, he responds for Burgettstown and gets a fall. But, it did come down to those guys like ZJ Ward. He was able to get a fall. And then Kenny Dushek, again, closed it out at 145 pounds for Freedom. So really good showing by them. And we talked about this. This was a match that we wanted to see happen. And, Freedom proved that they belonged.
And in the semifinals, Burrell defeats Best Center 53-15, and Freedom gets their revenge against Quaker Valley. They defeat them 38-35 to set up the finals match between Burrell and Freedom.
Yeah, that was a matchup I know we had talked about we wanted to see happen here. There wasn't really – you look at the matchups, and there were a few different matchups here. Freedom was able to have a different cast of characters, if you will. Trent Schulteis is up to 160. He gets a fall. Connor Redinger, though, had a really good win over ZJ Ward, beat him 11-1 by major decision. So you thought that, Quaker Valley, could they pull the upset again? But yeah, it was a good match back and forth. And, that's what you like to see in the WPIAL.
Yeah, and Bryson Miller going up to 220 and Russell and Donovan Cutchember and getting that decision was a big one for Freedom for them to move on. The third place match, Best Center defeats Quaker Valley 56-19. Just steamrolled them for the third place finish, and Burrell over Freedom 54-21.
Yeah, not a lot of surprises there. I was a little surprised by Best Center just kind of steamrolling Quaker Valley. I thought Best Center, they're a tough program, but I thought Quaker Valley, being the fact that they had upset Freedom a week before that, they were going to be able to hang. But Burrell, man, 30 points. I remember we were at the AAA, and they're saying, well, how bad did Burrell win? 30 points. Burrell's that tough.
Yeah,
they got the right personnel in at the right time. They were able to get a couple guys like Brian Gould back in the lineup. So they're firing on all cylinders. They got Nick Salerno back in 113. So they're coming together at a right time. AJ Corrado was able to get a 4-3 tiebreaker win over Kenny Dushek. That's a really big win for him. So things are going right for Burrell right now.
And Ian Oswalt beating ZJ Ward in overtime. And really having Trent Velocic down to 120, he and Oswalt can go back and forth, so Burrell can really play the matchups at 120 and 126. Still two very good wrestlers, but obviously Oswalt being a little bit stronger, but still having that opportunity to go with either guy in that scenario really helps out Burrell. You look at where they are at in the bracket in Hershey, and they are in the bottom half. They get the winner of Newport and Danville, a win there, and they'll take on the winner of Saucon Valley and Muncie.
And that would be a huge matchup right there. And, really when you look at that matchup, that Saucon Valley and Muncie match is going to be a barn burner of a match. These are two teams ranked in the top 10 in the state. Saucon Valley is undefeated. Muncie's only losses are to Southern Columbia. I think if Burrell's able to get past Newport or Danville, they're going to have a really, really fun match with Saucon Valley and or Muncie. So the Burrell Buccaneers, man, they always seem to – we're just lucky they're not feeding into Chestnut Ridge because they always used to feed into Chestnut Ridge. But Freedom's going to have a date with Chestnut Ridge the first time.
Yeah, you look at first on the bottom half with Burrell. Do you like their chances again? I think you like their chances in the opening round to win, but how do you like them against Saucon Valley Muncie?
That's a good question. A week ago, I'd say I was a little concerned about that matchup with either one of those teams, Saucon Valley especially. I think Saucon's got a little bit. I think they have a little more than Muncie, but I would never count out Muncie. But now with Burrell's kind of new look lineup where they have some of their guys back in, I wouldn't discount them. I think it's going to be a tight match. I know that's a cop out of an answer, but Burrell made it a little bit more interesting with the fact that they have some different personnel in the lineup. It's just a matter of how fresh are they. How the Saucon Valley guys, they've essentially been grinding for the better part of a year. So Burrell, they're going to have a few other guys that need to get up to speed, but bonus points. Who can get them and who won't give them up?
On the bottom half as well is Reynolds. If Burrell can win in the quarterfinals, likely a match against Reynolds. Can anybody beat Reynolds here?
No. I don't think so. I just don't. Reynolds is really, really good. They're really good at wrestling. So, I can't see anyone getting past them.
You look at the top half of the bracket, Freedom taking on Chestnut Ridge. Very tough draw for Freedom in the opening round.
Yeah, I mean, definitely not the draw you want coming right out of it, but it's still, you're still going to see some really good individual matches. And listen, it's the PIAA state tournament. Anything's possible and everything, we've seen crazier things happen. So, I wouldn't look past them at all. But it's definitely not the first team you want to see right out of the gate.
Best Center taking on Conneaut Area in the opening round here tonight. Do you like their chances to get to Hershey?
Well, after what they were able to do to Quaker Valley, I think that's something that is possible. However, Conneaut's they're a tough team. I mean, they did really well in the District 10 tournament, but so we'll see. I mean, it's going to be a tight match, but if Best Center is kind of they're unknown a little bit. They haven't really, other than that third place match. It's like. That really impressed me. That really impressed me what they were able to do to Quaker Valley. So if they can keep that momentum going, sure, I think they can win.
So you talked about Kiski and the fact that you like them to bring home a medal, potentially be in that state final. Burrell, I know that they want to bring home a medal. They've been talking about the fact that they want to go in place after being there for so many years. Do you like their chances of bringing home a medal? I look at AA and it's much, in my opinion, it's a little bit more wide open than you would say in AAA. Outside of maybe Southern Columbia and Reynolds, I think it does open up a little bit. I think Saucon Valley, Muncie, Chestnut Ridge, and Burrell are kind of in a class of their own. I think they're going to be able to do some things. I think there's a chance. Yes, I'm not going to say it's a guarantee, but like Kiski, I would say they're going to come home with top 4 medals. They're going to finish top 4. It's just my opinion. Burrell, I think they have an outside shot. I do. I think they're kind of in that top 6 range. So if they can pull off a good upset or a good victory, yeah, sure. I mean, they can definitely come back from Hershey with some medal. Make sure you stay with us on PA Power Wrestling all weekend long, as we're going to have all the updates for you from the state tournament. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. Make sure you follow us on Facebook. Just continue to follow us, as now's the time for us to keep you updated on what's going on.
That's right. This is it, man. This is the time to grind, and this is where we'll see all the fun things happen. We're going to see a lot of ranked opponents going at it. We're going to have updated state rankings this week. We have updated state dual team rankings that came out today, Monday, so make sure you check those out. We have a college podcast coming up with Chance Marsteller. We have a lot of fun stuff coming at you this week, so make sure you stay tuned to us.
And we'll recap how the WPIAL teams fared next Monday night as we talk about how Kiski, Burrell, and the likes end up doing. So we're looking forward to it. Should be a lot of fun. I want to thank Cam Connor of Kiski for joining us on the show. For my broadcast partner, Jeff Upson, I'm Greg Warnock. Thanks for listening in to WarUp on a WPIAL.